The roast beef of Old England and the King's signature. This true, slightly silly story takes place in the early 18th century and centers on King George IV, a man famously obsessed with pomp, ceremony, and, crucially, very good food. The problem? A cold dinner. The setting is the Palace of Westminster, specifically the Houses of Parliament, where the king had been summoned in 1705 to perform one of his most important constitutional duties, officially ratifying Acts of Parliament. This was done in a specific ceremony where the king would sign the bills, making them law. On this particular day, the process was running late. Extremely late. King George IV was an exacting man with a famously large appetite. The royal kitchens had prepared a magnificent feast for him, featuring, as was tradition, a colossal joint of roast beef. The beef was waiting for the king back at his residence, but the official signing of the bills, a bureaucratic process involving endless speeches and legal niceties, dragged on. The king grew increasingly agitated. Not because of the weighty political decisions, but because he knew, with dreadful certainty, that his magnificent roast beef was getting cold. The solution? A moment of fury. Finally, the stack of documents was placed before him. The king, driven to distraction by the thought of congealed gravy and cold fat, did not want to waste another second. He grabbed a pen and, rather than signing each bill with his full, formal signature, he scribbled his initials with a speed and ferocity that shocked the assembled lords and politicians. He scrawled a furious "GR" for Georgius Rex on the final bill, slammed the pen down, and stormed out, presumably to save what was left of his dinner. The politicians were initially horrified. Had the king slighted Parliament? Had he failed to properly enact the laws? The legacy, the royal assent. After much debate, the clerks decided that GR was technically sufficient, and the laws stood. The king's rushed, dinner-driven temper tantrum inadvertently created a new, time-saving precedent. From that day forward, the sovereign stopped wasting time with a full signature. To this very day, when the monarch gives royal assent to a new law in the UK Parliament, they don't even use initials. They use a simple, ancient French phrase, a relic of the Norman conquest, to signify their approval, a tradition born from one hungry king's impatience, le reine le velte. The queen wishes it, or le roi le velte. The king wishes it. The custom of the royal assent ceremony was streamlined forever, all because the king refused to let the roast beef of Old England go cold. It remains a wonderfully British example of how an entirely trivial personal motivation can become a serious, centuries-old constitutional procedure. That story is definitely one of the more unique contributions to British governance. Does that give you a taste for more historical oddities, or would you prefer a funny story about a specific British celebrity or cultural event?